Thank you. And I will be doing some live demos, so that's why I own laptop. But hey, maybe little introduction what I'm doing here and how did I end up here. So the reason actually goes 25, even 30 years into history, because I decided to study machine learning as my main subject in the Helsinki University of Technology. But that was really horrible career choice in the late 90s. So I had to become an entrepreneur and a salesperson and I shifted to the business side. But that kind of kept me thinking for almost 20 years. So 2018, as a CEO, I asked for a role rotation to step away from the CEO role, and for various reasons, but this was one of the reasons, that how can we renew knowledge work with the help of data and AI? And the reason back in then was quite simple. We started seeing problems that we could not fix with the traditional toolbox. Like, we are consultancy, so we are selling knowledge. After 300 people, we completely lost track of what knowledge we have, which is a bit stupid as a consultancy company selling knowledge and we don't know what we know. So we are somewhat undisciplined organization, so getting people to document their knowledge into the knowledge management system, maybe we got 40% there, maybe a bit more. But we decided to go on a journey, and we also started recognizing a lot of other issues in knowledge work. For example, seeing what really happens in the organization, how is our strategy progressing, or what's happening in the markets, and that actually took us on this journey. Then of course came generative AI, and that gave us a completely new toolbox to make things happen. So I will be talking about innovation. My angle is that we can actually innovate when we start challenging the conventions. So let's start with a couple of slides and then demo. So my favorite slide nowadays is this, Mr. Adam Savage from Mythbusters, because this is not innovation. What Adam has done, Adam took the latest and the greatest Boston Dynamics robot dog and put it in front of a 100-year-old rickshaw. And why do I like this picture? Because unfortunately many technology initiatives look exactly like this. We take the greatest technology, but we don't do anything with processes, we don't do anything with roles, we don't do anything else. We just take the latest and the greatest technology and we bring it to our existing ways of working, and then we wonder why don't we get any impact. The challenge, of course, when we play only with technology, it's actually quite easy compared to changing how we think or how we execute processes or how we even think about the whole company operating models or business models. So that's why I think this is quite typical. The other extreme, I will not go in that deep, is when we start really challenging the whole conventions of the whole industry. So not just like individual processes, but we start shifting, for example, in construction from sort of craft to industrial assembly paradigm, which is much broader change than just bringing some technology or some data or something like that. How can we actually sort of like have better tolerances? How can we actually start like squeezing the cycle time? How can we do it more like a prefab? All those kind of things. But then we start to get results. Or other ways of doing end-to-end process redesign from marketing to R&D to production in automotive or so on. But today I thought I will actually show some examples of generative AI and then also try to extend that how we can use those to innovate, how we work, how we create value, how do we interact with clients. And then a couple of words about how to make this actually work in the real world and what are the challenges. All the tabs that you see are different kind of examples, but I will not do them all today. Good. Hey, let's start from, for example, from our own use case. So this is our live system. I was given a blurred version because otherwise it would expose too much information. But this is our knowledge management system. And this is also something that we learned about data many years ago. There's huge amount of more data that one can think. So how do we do this? So like I told, we failed in getting people to document their knowledge, so we decided let's try something different. Let's take the digital footprint data that people leave behind. Nothing private, no, don't get me wrong. We don't use any private data. All the data that is either available anyhow for the people, so meaning like Google Drive, Miro boards, Slack, company blog posts, all sorts of things. And then we index those, we get rid of duplicates, we add metadata, we make all sorts of what is this document, and then we make it searchable. So if I just cut the, come on. What happened to my, oh, I dropped out of the network. That explains. p. Demo effect, yes. But at least now you see that this is not fake. It was my hotspot. Well, well, well. Now we are here. All right. Come on. Now we have a network. Here. So, for example, if I'm looking for data strategy, I get proposals. Because we are getting rid of duplicates, you know, draft, draft 2, final, final 3. We can also calculate the distance. The way we do it, we calculate the distance, but we can also do it then the other way around. We can actually calculate which proposals are close by, which means that we can offer people recommendations that maybe this is, or we can do some other things like the same material from other people. But then what we also, when we did this, we started also understanding more. We also started actually understanding that people are not looking for documents, they're looking for individual pages, or individual pieces of information, sorry. Then we decided to actually make it on a page level. So again, we find the pages, we get rid of duplicates, but then we learned something interesting. We are providing the information to people, but we also learned that with this information we can do something different. We can actually see how organizational knowledge is flowing. Because when we calculate the distance of pages, we can say this is the same page. If it's slightly different, we can say it's a different version. We suddenly started seeing information flows from Finland to Germany, Germany to Finland, or something like that. Then we also learned that we can actually use the same to track our strategy. So, because strategy is supposed to define how we are interacting with clients, it's supposed to be visible in proposals. So suddenly we realized that we can actually do real-time tracking of our strategy. And think about when I was a CEO, when the strategy process was very classic. We set the strategy, we set the initiatives, we hope for the best, and after 1 year we explained to the board that why didn't we succeed. But now we know every week that we are not progressing. But it at least gives us an opportunity to lead it. And this is one of the changes that I see, like one of these impact patterns, that we move from very sporadic management cycles to very high clock speed, accurate, 100% transparent management cycles. In construction industry, one of the biggest impacts that I've seen came from when we moved from monthly management to weekly management and finally to daily management. Meaning that the role of data was not about creating a same situation awareness on a monthly basis that was done manually. But because we were able to do it automatically, we were able to do things on a daily basis instead of on a monthly basis. And this is one of those innovations that I see is happening. So in many areas we are going towards 10x productivity, meaning that can we do something with like 1/10 of an effort or even more? Because when we can do things with very low effort or automated, we can actually change the ways of working. We can do something on a daily basis instead of on a monthly basis. We can also then track like who are the relevant people, but then let's just very quickly. So we also now we have had this already for quite a long time, this kind of that instead of searching, you can now actually ask the questions. And of course you can create this kind of stuff rather easily, but I think I would say that the key topic is how do we make the content relevant? Because this is now answering from Futurice content, we need to make sure that the actual content is very relevant to the question, and that is more of a issue. But this has already changed some way of writing proposals. In certain cases, certain type of proposals, we can actually get 70% ready-made answers based on our own knowledge in like half an hour. But there are some fundamental problems with this one. Number one, it's still reactive. Because think about the user experience. We are still expecting people to come and search. We are still expecting people to recognize that they need to search. We already tested technically that we can actually recognize what knowledge people need. Then we are changing ways when we become proactive. The other topic is that what we can do is that we can also understand the market better. So we can, for example, use job listings, or we can use all sorts of other information to understand what is happening in the market. Then we can make the information more contextual. Think about, I don't think, probably some of you have experienced consultancy salespeople approaching. Unfortunately, currently it's very much, can we have a meeting if there's something that you need to do? So what we are trying to do, where we are heading, is that we use data, we understand the client better, We understand the context better, we understand what we've done, and then we can be immediately somehow value adding in the early stages. This is, for example, related. Here's an example. This is actually my evening and weekend exercise, that because every single self-respecting consultancy needs to have market research, so I'm looking to automate it. This is market intelligence report on blockchain in insurance industry. The only thing is that the only manually written page is this front page. All the other pages here are automatically done. We pull data out of job listings, we pull data out of other like news data, and we told the system how to interpret, for example, job listings. For example, if there's only research jobs, it's low maturity. If there's sales and marketing jobs, it's high maturity. If there's a lot of different industries present in the job listings, it's high maturity, and so on. And suddenly we have, in 3 or 4 minutes, we have actually roughly 10-page market research report. This is not production quality yet. And then we can also give it like special like insurance in insurance, or it can be in automotive or whatever. And little by little we are seeking to go towards that. How can we actually, with very minimal cost, create customer or company specific market research with very minimal cost? This is also one of those challenging the conventions. I think that what has been a sort of fact is that cost of individuality is quite high. We've done this kind of data analysis already for several years, but when we do it manually, it's really expensive. It takes several days. What if the cost of individuality goes to 0? We can actually start treating customers or employees as individuals instead of through pools or segments on those. And I think this is one of those innovations that is coming, is that the cost of individuality is going to be almost 0 in the future, meaning a lot of interesting things on the business side. An extreme case of this, what we can also do, this is a demo, but sort of like an example demo of like, why don't we do an automatic sales argumentation? So what we are doing here is that we are, for example, pulling out construction company data, global job listings, and we are analyzing what kind of sustainability requirements those companies have in job listings. And why do we use job listings? Because job listings is the most honest data source. That's actually, if we remove the first boilerplate and the last boilerplate, typically everything in between is true. Difference to lots of other marketing materials that companies are publicizing. So investor materials are pretty good, annual reports are not good, and so on. But job listings is the most honest. They exactly tell what is actually right now going. So we take the job listings, then we actually analyze the job listings. Where's my analysis? Here. Now we have global construction companies. What are their sustainability requirements? Now we can turn this into hypothetical vendor letters, and then we can actually also model what I did. Hopefully there's no one here from Sika, but maybe it's not even that bad, but I kind of modeled the Sika, this construction vendor, through their website. So this is what Sika is doing. Now, maybe cutting corners, but what actually is happening here is that we take those vendor requirements. This is Jacob Solutions. This is how Sika could be argumenting specifically about their sustainability requirements of Jacob Solutions. Arup Group, different requirements, different argumentation. Or ICOM, different requirements, different argumentation. Individual argumentation, and I'm not claiming that this is 100% something that you should send to clients currently, but it's a good starting point for individual argumentation, whether it's sustainability, whether it's some other dimensions. So there's a lot of opportunities to actually rethink those. We can also do I can just very quickly, it doesn't matter, it can be also sort of a lot of other. So what has happened during the past year? So there's been certain domains that we've been innovating a lot until even going to production in many cases. Sales transformation, like how do we actually collect the internal information about our offering? How do we understand the client needs better? For example, how do we understand what they're asking from us? How do we actually automatically generate offerings? Then we actually have a lot of like opportunities in this customer feedback area, meaning that how can we support agents? How do we get from minutes of finding information to seconds, or how can we in real time, for example, analyze our customer ticketing stuff? This is just with the public data like car company and app reviews. and we can do real-time analysis of what our customers talking about certain things. Think about, again, typically when we go after customer insight takes days or weeks or whatever, now we can actually do here live. So if I want to know what are people saying about remote control, let's add. And instead of 56,000 reviews, we can narrow it down to very quickly. Come on. 99 reviews now. And now I can start reading what are people saying about those. And think about again the kind of the management cycles, those other processes. Instead of asking somebody to do a report in 3 weeks, you can actually start discussing it immediately. One of the biggest impacts that I've seen with this kind of real-time insight is that our quality of our conversation improves a lot. It's not replacing the kind of the conversation, it's not replacing the dialogue, it's improving the quality. Suddenly we can see, is our customers interested in this topic or not? Yes. One of the domains that we've been working a lot also in legal, this is actually one startup which we have been somewhat involved, is also automatic contract compliance review. So, you know, it's quite laborious to read contracts and sometimes it's a bit boring. So why don't we do it automatically? And I can submit contract, I select guidelines, we probably have some guidelines, and then I can start analyzing. It takes some time, but of course we can go and have a coffee, but I will show you, this is the output. So we produce a red line version automatically. These red lines are actually automated. These red lines are automated, how this, for example, this clause is not in compliance with our contracting policy. And this takes maybe 5 minutes currently to make this analysis with machine. But think about the options as well. We can actually start looking, for example, our proposals or whatever, we can do immediate legal compliance check. We've been also thinking internally that maybe we could actually start talking about end of processes, because we might not need certain processes in the future. We might not need, for example, separate legal check process or compliance control process, because we might be able to embed that into the actual work, give people immediate feedback. My final example goes also to management, and this is again a demo, but we've been working with similar ones in live sort of strategy cases. But let's take alignment. So let's assume that we have a big corporation, we have different departments, R&D, marketing. Are they aligned? Which is typically quite, let's say, annoying process to have meetings and readings and so on. But maybe we can do it differently. So here we have one company, hypothetical company, 3 units. Instead of reading, and of course these are super simple ones, we actually can ask machine to analyze it. So here we have existing plans, we have a new plan. Could you please be so nice and tell me if those plans are aligned, explicitly misaligned, or suspected misalignment? And in a few seconds, we get reasonably good answers. So think about the situation that maybe first that we could have every Monday morning, we would get a report that do we have organization alignment, and who should I talk to if there's no alignment? Even better, if I'm doing whatever I'm doing, whether it's a plan, project plan, I would get immediate support. Is this compliant with our legal? Is this aligned with other units? Am I doing something that might be creating havoc in some other department? Maybe I should talk to them. So finally, I think that we are able to start helping people to succeed with their work. Because think about the current paradigm in IT systems. I don't know if any one of you loves CRM, but I think the CRM is a good example of the current IT paradigm. Because the main purpose of CRM is to force people to follow a process or consolidate information to management. And then we are wondering why nobody's really a big fan of CRMs. We don't have IT systems that are helping people to succeed. And that is now changing. We finally start having tools that actually we can proactively give people information, we can actually help them to understand the context, we can broaden people's roles. We already seen cases where we can broaden people's roles in customer service because they have so much better knowledge in their hand and their knowledge is augmented. Suddenly they can handle broader, longer parts of the work, which becomes much more meaningful. Good. So, wrong. Few words, then I'm out. This is not about technology. Technology opens the opportunities, but the biggest challenges are in processes, mindset, changing the paradigm. That's the kind of the topic. Quite messy to do this in broad scale, but I just want to say two learnings. If we want to make things in production, let's find existing program to elevate. Because if we have existing sales transformation case or customer service improvement, let's just tag along there and make the change over there. Much better than trying to set up a new one. The second one is leadership needs to spend a lot of time to actually think how we can do systemic change. Not just improving existing processes, but systemic change. Then we get to this kind of construction change, and then we get to unfair competitive advantage. What are the critical success factors? Maybe I want to summarize here. 6 out of 7 are not technical. I would say, yes, we need to take a strategic domain, whether it's sales. We need to define a KPI that actually tells, are we succeeding? Save time is not a good KPI. Good KPI could be, for example, cycle time. How do we get our process from 7 weeks to 1 week? How do we reach out to 10,000 new customers in a different way? We need somebody who wants to make a change happen in the real world. Good ideas don't count. We need somebody who actually pushes it through a real change agent. That's typically one of the biggest bottlenecks. Good. And finally, what we've seen happen is that when we first improve the existing ways of working, then at some point we get to this systemic change, we challenge the whole convention, then we actually have choices. We can decide to make this as a separate business. I have had a nice experience being part of a couple of these, so that we actually suddenly turn a local business into global tech business because we changed the operating model. Good. Final question to you that I think opens thinking. What is the constraint that we built whole our business and offering and value proposition towards clients, which is not valid anymore? Is it people knowledge? Is it managing the complexity? What is it that it's not actually valid anymore? There's a lot of things that we actually take for granted. It takes a lot of unlearning to figure out what could be the other opportunity. And I think, for example, in our case, what I said, we are going after these kind of 10x productivity areas where we can then change. Instead of running some process every 3 months, we do it every single day. And that starts to create an impact. And that's why my final point is that don't be Adam, but change also something in the real world, not just the technology. Thank you.